The pink plus sign on that pregnancy test was supposed to be the happiest moment of my life. Instead, it was the grenade that blew up my entire world. I stood there, watching the man I loved, the father of my child, read the results with pure horror in his eyes. "Get rid of it," he said. Those 3 words shattered me, and what he said next destroyed me. My brother would never make a mistake like this. That's when I made my decision. If he thought his perfect, CEO older brother was so much better than him, maybe I should prove him right. My name is Kang Soo-jin, and 6 months ago, I was the brightest new marketing associate at Kim Corporations. I caught the eye of Min-ho Kim, the charismatic, rebellious younger son of the company's founder. He swept me off my feet with late-night dinners, secret getaways, and promises that felt like fairy tales. He was everything my structured, careful life wasn't: spontaneous, passionate, and dangerously exciting. Our affair was a whirlwind. I knew company policy forbade relationships between employees, especially between a junior staffer and the heir apparent. But love makes you foolish. I believed him when he said we'd go public eventually, that I was different from the others. The others? I should have listened to the office whispers, the warnings from my one friend in the office, Hae-in. "He's a player, Soo-jin. He gets bored easily." But I thought I was the exception. The turning point came at the company's annual gala. Min-ho was supposed to introduce me to his family. Instead, I watched from across the room as his mother paraded eligible heiresses before him. That night, drunk on expensive champagne and bitterness, he confessed, "My family would never accept a regular employee, Soo-jin. Us, it has to stay our secret." I should have left him then, but I was in love, or maybe I was just addicted to the drama. Then I missed my period. 2 weeks later, the test showed positive. I planned the perfect reveal, a home-cooked meal, a tiny pair of baby socks in a gift box. I never got that far. When I told him, the color drained from his face. "You're sure it's mine?" he asked, his voice cold. The accusation felt like a physical slap. "Of course it's yours, Min-ho. There's been no one else." That's when he said the words that would change everything. "Get rid of it. I'll pay for everything. This can't happen, Soo-jin. My brother, Ji-hoon, he's the perfect one. The heir, he would never be so careless. He would never jeopardize the company with some office fling." The contempt in his voice broke something in me. The love I felt curdled into something dark and determined. "I'm keeping the baby," I said, my voice surprisingly steady, "and you will support your child." He laughed, a cruel, mocking sound. "Then you'll be raising it alone. I'm not ruining my life because you forgot to take your pill." He walked out. The next day at work, he acted like I was a stranger. When I tried to approach him, HR called me in. Min-ho had filed a complaint against me for inappropriate advances. I was being transferred to a dead-end department in the company's basement. I was pregnant, heartbroken, and professionally humiliated. But Min-ho had made one fatal mistake. He'd compared me to his brother, CEO Ji-hoon Kim, the man everyone respected and slightly feared, the 40-year-old workaholic who ran the company with ruthless efficiency. The brother Min-ho was constantly competing with and always losing to. I'd only ever spoken to Ji-hoon in passing. He was quiet, intense, with watchful eyes that missed nothing. Where Min-ho was fire, Ji-hoon was ice. 2 days after my transfer, morning sickness had me hunched over the bathroom sink in the basement ladies' room. When I emerged, pale and shaking, Ji-hoon was standing there, waiting for the men's room. His eyes narrowed with concern. "Ms. Kang, are you unwell?" he asked, his voice deeper and softer than Min-ho's. "It's just stress," I managed to say. He studied me for a long moment. "The transfer was unfair," he said quietly. "My brother's impulsiveness often creates messes for others to clean up. I will see what I can do." He walked away, leaving me stunned. He knew. Somehow he knew. That night, as I cried in my tiny apartment, surrounded by baby websites and financial spreadsheets that didn't add up, an idea began to form. A crazy, dangerous, brilliant idea. Min-ho thought his brother was so perfect, that Ji-hoon would never make his mistakes. What if I married Ji-hoon instead? It was insane, but the more I thought about it, the less insane it seemed. Ji-hoon was under immense family pressure to marry and produce an heir. I was carrying a Kim grandchild, and I wanted revenge, not a destructive, burning revenge, but a quiet, prosperous one. I wanted security for my child. I wanted to show Min-ho that I wasn't a mistake to be discarded. So I drafted a business proposal, not for the company, but for my life. I requested a formal meeting with CEO Kim. When I walked into his office, I placed the document on his desk. Proposal for a mutually beneficial arrangement, it read. His eyebrows rose, but he gestured for me to continue. I laid it all out. My pregnancy, Min-ho's abandonment, the family's desire for an heir, my desire for security. I am proposing a marriage of convenience, I said, my voice barely shaking. For 2 years, you get a wife to present to your family and the board. Your heir, your nephew or niece, grows up with the Kim name and legacy with you as their legal father. I get protection and financial stability. After 2 years, we can divorce amicably. He was silent for so long I thought he might call security. Then he leaned forward, his hands steepled. There are 2 conditions, he said, his expression unreadable. 1, the child must never know Min-ho is their biological father until they're 18. 2, we tell no one this is a contract. To the world, including my family, we are a couple who fell in love despite the circumstances. My heart hammered. Why? Because, he said, a flicker of something pain. In his eyes, a marriage built on a business transaction can fail. A marriage built on a shared secret, that can become real. I agreed. We were married in a small, private ceremony a month later. Min-ho wasn't invited. The look on his face when he found out, a mixture of shock, betrayal, and sheer rage, was everything I thought I wanted. But as Ji-hoon slid the wedding band onto my finger, I realized I had no idea what I'd just gotten myself into. I had married the dragon to get back at the snake, and I was about to learn that dragons, while dangerous, could also be fiercely protective. The first few months of our marriage were clinical. We lived in Ji-hoon's sprawling, minimalist penthouse in separate wings. He was impeccably respectful, providing me with everything I needed, the best doctors, a nutritionist, a personal driver. He attended every prenatal appointment, his large, calm presence a stark contrast to the frantic energy I felt inside. He was playing the part of the doting husband perfectly for the outside world. At company events, his hand was always on the small of my back, a steady, grounding pressure. He'd whisper, "Breathe, Soo-jin. You're doing perfectly," when his mother, a formidable socialite, interrogated me about my sudden romance with her eldest son. But behind closed doors, we were polite roommates, until the night I had a pregnancy scare. I was 7 months along when sharp pains woke me. Panicked, I called for Ji-hoon. He was in my room in seconds, still in his suit pants from working late. He didn't hesitate. He scooped me up, carried me to the car, and drove to the hospital with a terrifying, focused intensity. It was a false alarm, just strong Braxton Hicks contractions. But as the doctor confirmed the baby was fine, I saw the raw fear on Ji-hoon's face. The ice-veined CEO was trembling. He sat by my hospital bed all night, holding my hand, not for show, but because he needed to. That was unacceptable, he finally said, his voice rough. The thought of something happening to you or the baby. In that moment, the wall between us crumbled. We started talking, really talking. He told me about the pressure of being the perfect son, of carrying the entire company and family name on his shoulders since he was a teenager. He confessed he'd always been lonely. I told him about my dreams, my fears about motherhood, the deep shame Min-ho had made me feel. We became friends, then something. The attraction wasn't the explosive, dramatic passion I'd had with Min-ho. It was a slow burn, a deep, resonant connection that grew in quiet moments. The way he'd bring me tea exactly how I liked it without being asked. The way he'd rest his hand on my growing belly when he thought I was asleep, whispering to the baby about all the things he would teach them. I was falling in love with my husband, and I dared to hope he was falling for me too. Then our daughter was born, Soo-ah, The moment Ji-hoon held her, his entire being transformed. The ice in his eyes melted into pure, unguarded love. He was her father in every way that mattered. Min-ho, however, was a ghost at our feast. He showed up at the hospital, reeking of alcohol and resentment. "My daughter," he slurred, trying to reach for her. Ji-hoon moved faster than I'd ever seen. He blocked Min-ho's path, his voice dropping to a dangerously quiet tone. "You lost any right to call her that when you told her mother to get rid of it. Get out. If you ever come near Soo-jin or my daughter again, I will destroy you." It was the first time I'd ever heard him sound truly violent. Min-ho slunk away, defeated. For a year, we were a perfect, happy family. Ji-hoon was a devoted father and a surprisingly tender husband. We never discussed the end of our 2-year contract. I didn't want to. I had everything I'd ever wanted. But fairy tales don't last. Min-ho, drowning in jealousy and failure, began a campaign of sabotage. He started rumors at the company that Soo-ah wasn't Ji-hoon's child, that I was a gold digger who had trapped the CEO. The rumors reached Ji-hoon's parents. His mother descended on our penthouse like a wrathful queen. "I want a DNA test," she demanded, pointing a perfectly manicured finger at Soo-ah, who was playing on the rug. "I will not have a bastard inherit the Kim empire." Ji-hoon was furious. "Soo-ah is my daughter, legally and in my heart. That is the end of this discussion." But the damage was done. The seed of doubt was planted in the boardroom. The company's stock dipped. The pressure mounted. The night of our 2nd anniversary, Ji-hoon came home late. His shoulders slumped with a weight I hadn't seen in over a year. He poured a drink, his hand shaking. "The board is giving me an ultimatum," he said, not looking at me. "They want proof of paternity to quell the rumors. If I don't provide it, they'll vote to remove me as CEO, citing instability. Min-ho is leading the charge." The bottom dropped out of my world. The contract, the secret, it was all coming back to destroy the life we'd built. "And if you provide it," I whispered, my heart breaking, "they'll know Soo-ah isn't biologically yours. They'll know our marriage is a lie." He finally looked at me, and the pain in his eyes was unbearable. "I won't do it, Soo-jin. I won't let them put my daughter through that. I won't let them humiliate you." "Then you'll lose everything," I cried. "The company, your legacy." He crossed the room and took my face in his hands. "You and Soo-ah are my legacy." It was the most beautiful thing anyone had ever said to me. But as we held each other, I knew I couldn't let him sacrifice everything for us. Not when I had the power to end this. I had to confront Min-ho. I found Min-ho at his usual seedy bar. He was a shadow of the charming man I'd once loved, bitter, drunk, and pathetic. "Come to gloat," he sneered. "I've come to make you an offer," I said, my voice cold. I placed my phone on the table, recording. "Admit, on record, that you started the paternity rumors to sabotage your brother. Admit that you are Soo-ah's biological father and that you abandoned us." He laughed. "Why would I do that?" "Because if you don't," I said, leaning forward, "I will go public with everything. The affair, the pregnancy, you telling me to get an abortion, you filing a false HR complaint. The media will eat it up. You'll be disowned completely. Do it, and I will give you this." I slid an envelope across the table. It contained a signed document relinquishing all my parental claims to any future inheritance from the Kim parents in favor of Min-ho. It was a ruthless move. I was betting my daughter's potential future wealth against his greed. He stared at the document, then at my phone. Greed won. He confessed to everything. The next day, I walked into the boardroom with Ji-hoon. The old men stared at us with disapproving eyes. "Before we begin," I said, my voice clear and confident, "I believe this will address your concerns." I played the recording. The room was dead silent. Min-ho's voice, confessing to his petty, destructive scheme, filled the space. When it ended, the chairman looked at Min-ho, his expression one of utter disgust. "You are finished at this company," he said. Min-ho was escorted out. The board immediately reinstated Ji-hoon with a vote of confidence. But the battle had taken its toll. That night back at home, the air between us was heavy. The secret was out. To the world, Ji-hoon was a hero and Min-ho was a villain. But between us, the foundation of our marriage, the contract, was now exposed. "I suppose our 2 years are almost up," I said, my heart in my throat, as I packed a suitcase in my room. "The contract is fulfilled. You have your company, I have my security. Suwa is protected." Ji-hoon stood in the doorway, watching me. "Is that what you want, Soo-jin? To leave?" Tears streamed down my face. "No, but I won't hold you to a business deal you never signed up for. This." I gestured between us, at the love that had grown in the cracks of our arrangement. He walked over and gently took the sweater from my hands, placing it back in the drawer. Then he got down on one knee. He pulled out a new ring box. Inside was not a diamond, but a simple, beautiful gold band. The original contract, now torn in half, was nestled beside it. "Soo-jin," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "The contract is void. I'm not asking you to stay as my business partner. I'm asking you to stay as my wife, my real wife. I love you. I think I've loved you since the moment you walked into my office with that insane, brilliant proposal. Marry me, for real, forever." It was the happy ending I'd stopped daring to hope for. The revenge I'd sought had led me to my true partner. The family I'd fought to build for my daughter was now complete. "Yes," I whispered, pulling him up to kiss me. 1,000 times yes. 5 years later, we're more in love than ever. Ji-hoon adopted Suwa, and she calls him Appa with so much love it makes my heart ache. Min-ho, after hitting rock bottom, checked into rehab and now runs a small, successful startup abroad. We send him photos at Christmas. Forgiveness, I've learned, is the sweetest revenge of all. The office affair that broke me led me to a man who would move heaven and earth to put me back together. I got pregnant with one brother, but I found my forever with the other, and our story is just beginning.